Grief is a strange room, dear viewers. It has no windows, and the lighting is always dim. In the year after George died, I lived in that room. The world outside felt too sharp, too bright. I let Adrian, AJ, be my eyes. My son-in-law, my Claire's husband. He was so capable or so smooth. Oh, the bitter irony of those words now, hanging in the air like a poisoned mist. He arrived that evening just after sunset, carrying a black leather briefcase that seemed to hum with importance. He was wearing one of his expensive dark suits, and he'd brought a bottle of my favorite Chianti. He didn't rush me. He never rushed. That was part of his brilliance, the illusion of patience, the calculated calmness that made him seem utterly trustworthy. "Evelyn, are you comfortable?" he asked, leaning forward with a concerned look. "We don't have to do this tonight, but the deadline for the preliminary filings is approaching. I just want to make sure your future, and Claire's, is absolutely ironclad." George would have wanted that. He and I discussed this endlessly. He used George's name like a key, a password to unlock my trust. It was the only word that could cut through my fatigue. No, Adrian. Let's do it," I said tiredly, sighing. "I just want it all settled. I don't understand these trusts and transfers, but I trust you on to explain." "It's simple, Evelyn," he said. "The old estate plan George set up is going to be hit with a brutal tax bracket. This new structure, the Vance Family Asset Protection Trust, moves the core assets, particularly the house, into a legal shield. It's what all high-net-worth families do now. It protects the legacy. I remember the phrase clearly. Protects the legacy." He spoke about tax law and estate planning, a waterfall of jargon designed to overwhelm. He pointed to a small 2-line paragraph on a 30-page document. He said it was just a reaffirmation that I was the beneficiary. "Right here, Evelyn. This signature confirms that you agree to the new tax-protected structure and authorizes me, as your fiduciary partner and family member, to handle the filing with the state." A standard formality. It's completely routine. I didn't read every word. I read one word: trust. I saw my husband's face. I saw my daughter's face. I saw the 25 years I'd known Adrian, the man who had pledged to be my family. I signed where he told me. I signed again. And again. "Is that it, Adrian? Is it done?" I asked. "That's it, my dear Evelyn. You are taken care of. Now why don't I pour us a glass of that Chianti? You deserve a moment of peace." But it wasn't a formality, and it wasn't a tax transfer. In those fleeting moments of grief-stricken carelessness, Adrian Vance hadn't just secured my financial future. He had used my love, my pain, and my trust against me. He had secured the full power of attorney 9 for all my assets, and on a document buried deep in the stack, he had coerced me into signing a quitclaim deed, transferring the ownership of George's house, my home, my only sanctuary, into the very asset protection trust he completely controlled. I had just signed away my entire life, and he celebrated with a toast. I thought the grief was the worst pain I would ever know. I was wrong. The betrayal, that's its surgical strike. It cuts deep and clean, and you don't realize you're bleeding out until the floor is slick with the evidence. Henry, my husband's old friend, came over one Thursday, just to talk about George. I asked him, almost as an afterthought, to glance at the tax papers Adrian had prepared. Henry paused, clearing his throat, his expression slowly changing from casual to deeply troubled. "Evelyn, these aren't routine tax filings. This is significantly more involved." I tried to wave it off, smiling weakly, blaming my own ignorance. "Oh, Henry, you know how complicated Adrian makes everything sound." He said it was just a smart way to minimize the estate tax burden. He didn't minimize the burden, Evelyn. He shifted the ownership, Henry said. "Look here, buried on page 22. It's a power of attorney. A full, comprehensive one, granting him access to all liquid assets. And this other document, the one he had you sign the day before, this isn't a transfer into a tax trust. This is a quitclaim deed transferring the legal title of this house to the Vance Family Asset Protection Trust. A trust, I might add, where Adrian is the sole trustee." I felt the blood drain from my face. The nice warm sunroom suddenly felt cold, the air thin. The china cup rattled violently in my saucer. "No, no, Henry," I whispered. "He said it was for protection. He said it secured the house for Claire. He's family. He couldn't do that. Evelyn, this document legally means Adrian owns this house. Through his trust. He has the power to sell it, to mortgage it, to do anything he pleases. Because you signed over your POA while you were grieving. He didn't protect the legacy, dear. He stole it. He used your love and your sorrow as leverage. The immediate physical sensation was nausea. Then, the most terrifying realization. He played me. He watched me cry over my husband's death, and he saw not a woman in pain, but an opportunity. I had just signed away my entire life. "I want every detail," I said, my voice hardening. "Every clause, every line, every legal loophole he thinks he's hidden behind. Print it all, Henry. Because if he thinks a grieving widow will just quietly disappear, he is sorely mistaken. He's about to find out what real accountability it feels like." After Henry laid bare Adrian's deception, my first instinct wasn't anger at Adrian. It was to protect my daughter. I thought she would be horrified that she would understand. I was wrong. "Claire, my darling, you need to see this," I pleaded, offering her the folder. "Adrian, he's not who we think he is. He's used my grief, your father's memory, to steal everything. Mother, please." I can't believe that," Claire said, her voice tight and strained. "Adrian is my husband. He wouldn't do anything to hurt us. He's just trying to protect your assets, like he said." Her voice was a wall. She didn't want to see the truth. She wanted to believe the fairy tale he'd spun for her. "Claire, look at the documents. He's taken a loan against the house. A huge undisclosed loan." Claire slammed the folder shut, anger building. "Mother, Adrian told me about that. It's a bridge loan, a temporary measure. He said it was strategic and that he'd repay it in full next quarter. He said you signed off on it, that you understood. He lied, Claire. He lied to me, and he's lying to you. Mother, please stop. You're grieving. You're emotional," she said. "And now you're accusing my husband of stealing? How dare you come into my home and accuse him? You're turning against your own family. Is this about money, Mother? Is this about you feeling dispensable?" The words hung in the air, heavy and poisoned. Dispensable. It was a dagger to the heart. "I see," I said, my voice calm but unwavering. "You believe him. You choose to believe his lies over your own mother. Very well, Claire. When the truth inevitably reveals itself, remember this conversation. Remember who tried to warn you." I left the folder behind and walked out, completely, utterly alone. After Claire's frozen rejection, a cold, hard resolve set in. Adrian Vance had made a critical error. He had mistaken a grieving widow for a helpless one. He had forgotten I was a principal for 40 years, accustomed to dissecting problems and getting things done. My first lesson had always been, before you can solve a problem, you must understand it fully. I began by contacting George's old solicitor. I immersed myself in Adrian's world. I learned the language of finance, the jargon of real estate. I looked for patterns, for anomalies. I discovered his firm had a surprisingly high number of distressed asset sales, involving properties that had previously belonged to less experienced investors. This wasn't just about the house anymore. It was about honoring George's memory, about refusing to let a predator desecrate everything we had built. This was my final, most important lesson. I knew I needed an ally, someone who wasn't afraid to shine a light on the dark corners of Adrian's world. My research led me to a name: Marco Rossi, a young investigative journalist Adrian had silenced years ago. I sensed a hunger in him, a desire for vindication. A shared enemy can make for a powerful, if unlikely, ally. We met at a busy coffee shop. "Ms. Reed?" "Marco Rossi. Thanks for meeting. Your message was cryptic." "Mr. Rossi, I apologize for the mystery, but Adrian Vance has a long reach," I replied. "It's not about an old land dispute, Mr. Rossi. It's about a pattern. A pattern of predation?" Adrian Vance has a talent for making things disappear, and in my case, a lifetime of assets. I pushed a folder containing the quitclaim deed, the POA, and the fraudulent loan papers toward him. He looked at the documents, his skepticism giving way to intense interest. He took out a loan against your house? This is brazen. And this trust document, where he's the sole trustee? Ms. Reed, this isn't just unethical. This is criminal fraud? He stated. Precisely, Mr. Rossi, and this isn't his first time, I said. This is a bombshell, he admitted. If we can link this to his other liquidations, this is a takedown now. He made me look like a fool once. I'd very much like to return the favor. Then we have a shared objective, Mr. Rossi, I said, a faint smile on my lips. I have the paper trail. You have the access to connect the dots I cannot. We shook hands. A silent pact formed. Adrian Vance was about to learn that some legacies, like some women, are far too resilient to be stolen. The truth, like water, eventually finds every crack. My fight was relentless, and the emotional toll on Claire was finally too much to ignore. Marco's article, and the undeniable financial records we had gathered, finally pierced through the fog Adrian had created. The call came late. She was coming over. Mother, I saw the article, Claire whispered, her voice choked with tears. And then Adrian's junior partner sent me these. The bank statements, the hidden accounts, the offshore transfers. He lied about everything. She sobbed uncontrollably. He made me feel like I was protecting him from your irrationality. How could I have been so blind? So stupid. I sat beside her, not touching her immediately. You weren't stupid, my love. You were in love, and Adrian exploited that just as he exploited my grief. He isolated you, just like he tried to isolate me. It's what manipulators do. She looked utterly lost. He's gone. He just left. Everything is gone, Mother. My life with him, it was all a lie. I gently reached out and took her trembling hand. It's not all gone, my darling. You still have me. You still have this house, your home. We will rebuild. It will be hard, but we will do it together. And this time we'll build it on truth, not on lies. She clung to me, a desperate need for solace in her eyes. The anger at her had never overshadowed my love. The walls between us finally crumbled. The embrace was a silent promise. The gilded cage Adrian had built for us had crumbled, but in its ruins, something more precious was being restored. The unbreakable bond between a mother and her daughter. The fight wasn't just for justice anymore. It was for family. In the end, Adrian called an emergency meeting at his tower to liquidate his final assets. He was counting on chaos, on fear. I intended to be the earthquake that brought it down. As I sat down, he tried to regain control. Evelyn, I'm not sure what you think you're achieving here. This is a private liquidation meeting. You have no standing to disrupt this process. On the contrary, Adrian, I replied calmly. I have every standing, because everything you're trying to liquidate, everything on that balance sheet, is built on a very unstable foundation. My house and my name. He tried to dismiss me, sneering, "The house, Evelyn? We've been over this. It belongs to the trust. It's done." You had the authority, yes, I said, leaning forward, my eyes locking onto his. But Henry and I noticed something you overlooked, Adrian. The funds you moved out of that trust, the $2.5 million you used to cover a failed deal, that was not for preservation. That was embezzlement. And because you used the POA I signed under false pretenses to facilitate a criminal act, the original POA is now rendered void ab initio. It was invalid from the very start. Silence descended. His face drained of color. His lawyers looked away. Furthermore, Adrian, I continued, Mr. Marco Rossi has been kind enough to alert the authorities to the fact that you are attempting to liquidate funds which are now legally proven to be tainted by fraud, which is, I believe, the very definition of obstruction of justice and flight risk. The boardroom door opened. 2 officers from the Financial Crimes Unit walked in. Mr. Adrian Vance. "We have a warrant for your arrest regarding financial fraud," the officer stated. Adrian lurched forward, screaming, "You old fool! I'll ruin you!" "You tried, Adrian," I said, quiet but firm. "You tried with forgery, with fraud, and with lies. You have nothing left to drag me with. My husband built his legacy on honesty. You built yours on my vulnerability. That is the difference between a house that stands and a tower that falls." He was escorted out of the boardroom. The justice wasn't in seeing him physically arrested. It was in reclaiming my own narrative. The truth had won, and a liar finally was silent. 6 months later. It takes time for the earth to settle after an earthquake. Adrian was convicted. The house was fully and irrevocably transferred back into my name. Claire divorced him and we began to rebuild. "The roses look beautiful, Mother," Claire said as we stood in the garden one morning. "They do," I replied. "They remind me of your father. Resilient. They come back stronger every year, no matter how harsh the winter." "Are you truly all right, Mother? Do you feel safe?" she asked. "I am, my love. Safety isn't just a legal document. It's knowing that I faced the worst of it and didn't break. I didn't let him define me. This house, this is still George's and mine, filled with love, not with Adrian's lies. I found that justice is a peace best earned hard. Adrian sought to rob me of my dignity. But dignity, my dear viewers, is the one asset that can never be sold, never be signed away. It is an inheritance you earn every day by choosing truth over comfort and strength over despair. I am an old woman, yes. I have seen betrayal, pain, and loss. But I also know this. I am still standing. And this time, I stand taller than ever before,